Aloha, everyone. Welcome. So glad you could be here today. Um, as I said in the newsletter, in our recent 300-hour meetup with the other people in the training, it became clear that everyone's kind of going through a transition right now. And that can be really exciting. It can be really uncomfortable. What was most helpful for me was knowing, like, oh, I'm not crazy. Like, other people are experiencing this shake up, things changing, things feeling unfamiliar. And so my goal for class today is to relax into that space, get comfortable in that unknown, undefined space, but then also open up to something really wonderful being possible. I feel like when things are changing, we almost want to like go back to what was before when we felt, like something was clear and solid. But right now we have the potential to go forward into something that's even better. So that's our goal for class today. If that sparks anything right away in your heart, you're welcome to just take a moment to breathe into either that idea or that feeling. And then you can spread out a blanket because we're going to start with a little bit of rolling. If you don't have a blanket, it's not a huge deal. I just feel more comfortable on the blanket. And you can move everything out of the way. And folks online, turn to the left. We're going to start on our bellies. And if you're here in person, you can just face whichever way is easiest for you to see me. And then from the belly, stack the hands, elbows wide, forehead to the backs of the hands. And if this isn't comfortable for any reason, sometimes propping yourself up a little higher so there's not pressure on your belly or your chest can be nice. You can always put your head up on a blanket. Do something different with your arms if this doesn't feel good in your shoulders. I want you to be really comfortable here. And then let your body start to get heavy. Start to feel the gentle weight of the head on the hands, the elbows on the earth, the belly or whatever's contacting in the center, and then all the way down the legs. And see if you can feel a sense of support rising up from the earth. You can completely let go. Nothing needs to be on in body or brain. And let yourself drop into your breath flow. And at first you may notice where the breath is contacting the earth, so the bottom of the rib cage as the belly expands. And then eventually start to tune into the sides of the ribs and the back of the ribs and just feeling this gentle expansion. And I find it's easier to fill sides and back when you're on your belly because the breath has nowhere else to go. So you might notice you're able to get a little more opening between each rib. This is wonderful for the muscles in the back, especially if you're experiencing any tension. Just getting this little extra mobility can go a long way. And with each exhale, feel that sense of letting go of everything you've been carrying around in your day, in your week, any stresses, any worries. But maybe even letting go of everything defined, everything solid, and letting yourself just be with the breath completely unattached. Noticing a sense of spaciousness. Let's gently lift the head and place the hands nice and wide. Tuck the elbows into your side body and let your hands float out a little wider, and keeping your hands where they are, ever so gently drag them down towards the feet so you feel the shoulder blades drawing down the back. The front of the body gets nice and light. Take an in-breath to lengthen through the whole front of the body from the tops of the feet all the way to the crown of the head, peeling up into cobra, and then releasing down 99% of the way so the full weight of the body doesn't come down, and you're just hovering the forehead. It's touching the mat, but it's not heavy. And then inhale, repeat that, and do this a couple times on your own. The next time you release the forehead to the mat, let everything relax completely and notice the relief that's possible. Even though you're just keeping 1%, notice that difference now that you've let everything go. Then imagine you could do that with all of your thoughts, all of your planning. Play with that experiment one more time where you do a nice easy lift, release 99% so the head is light as it touches the ground. Come back up. Do that a couple of times. And then let yourself release completely and feel that complete turning off. And I'll tell you a secret. You can always release a little bit more. I swear, even if you're like, no, but I'm totally relaxed. Just imagine and see what happens. Start to slide the left arm long overhead. Push into the right hand to slowly roll onto the left side so you're facing me. And then flex the feet and imagine you're standing in Tadasana. So try to find a neutral pelvis and notice the little tiny core engagement required there. You can do a little test by floating the hand overhead and seeing if you can balance for a moment. And then hover the top leg for a moment, slide it behind you. Top arm comes in front and release the head down so it's on your arm so you're nice and relaxed. We're going to play a little tug of war between front hand and back leg. So gently start to pull the leg behind you so that it peels the hips open just a little bit, but your arm's so strong that your leg can't go very far. And now the arm's going to pull forward so you're going towards your belly, but your leg's so strong that you're not going to go very far. Start to play between those two shapes. Make sure your low back feels good here. And the most important thing here is to, well, actually, anything that's important to you can be the most important thing. But try to notice how the arm and the leg are connected and how everything the arm does relates to the leg. Maybe one feels stronger. Maybe you're like, oh, it's so much easier. I want to roll to my back. Great opportunity to strengthen through the upper body or vice versa. I love that the hip is opening here. A lot of times we have tightness in the psoas and the hip flexors, and so this gentle action just helps integrate the core into those muscles so they can start to relax and open in a gentle way. And the next time the arm starts to pull, let yourself slow motion roll onto the belly, trying to control your weight. So instead of the leg thudding, it's just that setting down, dialing down to 99% release. And then the full release. Let's drag the hands back to where they were before. Slowly reach the heart forward, unweighting the head. Reach the feet back and notice if that helps you get longer. Gaze down so the back of the neck is nice and long. And then sway the heart over to the right. and then over to the left. And do this a few times. Imagine that you're massaging your shoulders as the spine sways from side to side. The next time you sway to the right, reach long with your left leg. So you're reaching straight back, and notice if you automatically go a little bit further. And then same thing over the other side. So now the right leg lifts back, and notice if the spine goes a little bit further. Now play with this organically for a moment, swaying as you lift one leg if it feels good, or leave out the legs if you'd rather. And then come back to center, release that 99%, and then stack the hands elbows wide and release 100%, or do whatever feels best for the shoulders. Tune back into the breath, letting the body soften. Feeling yourself in that released, undefined space. And sometimes breathing right into the heart can help that space feel safer. I think in yoga, it often feels like a relief. It's like, ooh, nice. I get to soften and relax. And so maybe if you get used to that here, it won't be so uncomfortable when it's happening in life. And we'll do that same thing on the second side. So now the right arm reaches out. You're going to be rolling away from me. So drag the left hand underneath the shoulder, push into the left hand so you roll onto the right side. We'll take a moment to flex the feet, reach the top arm overhead, and there's just a little bit of balance required here, so you might feel some tone at the center. That's what we want. And then allow the top leg to lift behind you. Top arm reaches in front of you. Relax the head down. And now we tug of war. So the top arm pulls forward as if it were going to pull you on the belly, but resist it with the leg. And then the opposite with the leg. The leg pulls you, so you're pulling towards your back, but you resist it with the arm. And in that way, you're starting to connect the dots, not but just between the arms and the leg, but really between the legs and pelvis, into the core, into the upper body. So at first, you may just notice this mostly on your left side, and that's fine. If you're more familiar with this exercise, see if you can start to feel what's happening between the whole lower body and upper body. The body, you moving as one integrated form. And next time the arm starts to pull, it's going to win, so you'll slowly roll onto the belly, but try to control the roll so you feel first the arm, then the shoulder, then the spine, then the pelvis, then the leg. And drag the hands back, setting up for our cobra. Without lifting the legs, gently take the weight out of the legs, engaging naturally through the core. We do this by reaching the legs back and just not letting them be quite as heavy. And now start to sway the spine over to the left, but this time we'll lift a little higher in cobra as we go through center and over to the right, and then down through the middle. So we're drawing some big circles or small circles. Circles with the shoulders. And just like that tug of war action, this movement relates all the way down the spine into the hips and the legs. So try to feel as the spine reaches to the left, how you can reach back with the right leg, just like you did before, but now it's a little more dynamic with the circling. And as you come through center, if you want to pause in cobra, you can, or you can switch directions and go the other way right away, whatever feels best for you. And let's meet in center. Grab your blocks, place them in front of you, and then push up in and back into bhujangasana just for a moment. You can enjoy stillness, or you can sway a little from side to side. I love massaging my forehead against the floor. If you want to try that, you can just roll the head from side to side. And then we'll float up into table and turn to face me. I'm going to go 3/4 just so that online people can see more angles. And then people in person, as long as you're facing me, you should be good. So hands on blocks can be at any height. I'm feeling the middle height myself right now, so you're welcome to try that. And from tabletop, start to rock the pelvis forward, so low back arches, and back, so low back rounds. And so this is just happening in the pelvis, and try to not move the rest of the spine. And as soon as you prevent the movement in the rest of the spine, you might feel some stability waking up in your core and in your shoulders. The next time the pelvis rocks back and the spine rounds, lift the blocks to the highest height, come onto the fingertips, guide the hips forward to slowly roll up one vertebra at a time. Let the hands reach forward, and then let your right hand reach up and back, so you're drawing a big circle and turning open. Once the hand gets to the horizon, reverse the way you came, going all the way down to the blocks, and we'll do the same thing going the other way. So we'll rock the pelvis forward and back, just little tiny rocks. Nothing moves except the pelvis, and you'll actually start to get to know your spine a little bit better by isolating that movement. The next time the tailbone drops and the spine rounds, press the hips forward, roll up, floating hands to horizon. Now left arm circles up and back. And now that you've got the movement, once it goes back, reverse the way you came, so you're not going a full circle, you're just drawing a semicircle. Back down to the blocks, and do this a couple more times on each side. And notice as if through each repetition, you can move a little slower and a little more gracefully. Try to feel how the movement initiates by pushing down into the knees as you roll the spine up, and then that action of pushing down helps you continue to lift and open with the spiral. The next time the hands come down, step the left foot outside of the blocks. Give a little squeeze between the inner thighs, and just like we practiced before, rock the pelvis back, and then when I say rock the pelvis back, it's the dropping of the sits bones. Nice. So it's that curling action. And then push the whole pelvis forward so that the spine can roll up, just like we did before. Yeah, you know exactly what's going to happen. So this time we'll spiral the left hand up and open, so we twist towards that front leg, and then go back the way we came. And just for fun, let's see what happens when we lift the right hand and spiral open. It's kind of like more like a Virabhadrasana 2 action, where the hips are opening. And then let's play with upping the ante a little bit. The next time the hands are down, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. Because I was in a short stance, as I lift the knee, I'm not in like a long extended lunge, but almost more like a crouch. Same thing as before. Try rocking the pelvis back. Push pelvis forward to slowly roll up. Equal weight in both feet is going to help here. And then we'll go for our spiral into the closed twist. That's when you're going towards the front leg. Go back the way you came. If it was hard to go from low to high, you don't have to lower all the way to the blocks. You can open the other way. But we're not going to open all the way into Virabhadrasana 2, did that feel good? Okay. If you want to open all the way into Virabhadrasana 2, allow the back foot to dig down into the earth, initiating that hip opening from the bottom up. Don't worry about going very far. I want this to be nice and small and supported. And then we'll do that one more time, and you have the option to come down to the blocks and be a little more dramatic as you roll up and open. Or if it feels more friendly, you can stay high as you roll up and open. And the next time you start to crouch down, grab your blocks, lift back up, walk through center all the way over to the other side. Place the blocks down, release the back knee, and release the hips so they soften towards the earth. Start to draw some big circles with the hips. And then go the other direction. And we'll go through that same sequence on the second side. So from here, we'll start with the pelvic tilts, rocking the pelvis forward a little bit, rocking the pelvis back. Blocks can be whatever height feels best for you. And remember, we're trying not to move the rest of the spine so that you really get to feel the muscles on the front of the spine engage as the pelvis rocks back. The next time that happens, stay in that curled position, but press the hips forward so you slowly roll up, arms lift to the horizon, and now right arm circles up and back, and then goes back the way it came, hands down to the blocks. Same thing, rolling up, but this time left hand circles up and open. And take a few of these on your own. If you want to sync this with the breath, there is no right or wrong. Often it feels very natural to inhale as you come up. You're welcome to try that. And see if you can feel the whole body working together. So it's not about the hips, it's not about the arms. It's really about this sensation of spiraling open, spiraling closed, and letting the whole body participate. The next time the hands come down, tuck the toes under, lift the back knee. We didn't do this on the first side, but I want to do it here. And then release the back knee down. We'll do this a few times. So each exhale, lift the back knee, squeeze the inner thighs together, and try to feel that stability rising up the pelvis all the way up the spine. See if you can even lengthen through the back of the neck so the crown of the head reaches forward and the chin tucks a little bit. Take a couple of those on your own, preparing the legs. You can always step the front foot forward a little bit more. That's going to make it more stable. If it's hard for you to curl up from this position, we'll all start with dropping the sits bones down, that back rocking of the pelvis, and then option to walk the hands up to the front thighs so you have more support. Send the hips forward, rolling up, right hand reaches up and back, and then you'll reach the right hand forward and either all the way down to the blocks or just forward if that's easier. And then from whatever position you're in, you'll curl forward and let the pelvis lead the movement as it shifts forward. For this first one, don't open all the way into Virabhadrasana 2. I just want the body to open as left hand reaches up and back. Pelvis stays where it is. And then it's up to you on the next round. You'll do a few more on your own. And if you do decide to open into Virabhadrasana 2, I like to keep most of the weight in my front leg and intentionally spiral that back leg open. But then you have to go back the way you came. Last one. And the next time the hands reach the blocks, pick up the blocks, go all the way over to the other side, place the blocks inside the left foot, lower the right knee, and go into those hip circles. Anchor the front big toe. And I always seem to notice this the most in my inner thighs, so I personally am trying to sway my hips a little bit more, exploring the lateral hamstrings and the IT band, but please explore whatever feels most interesting to you. And then shift the weight into the blocks. bring the front knee back, lower the blocks to the lowest height, or just place the hands on the floor. Actually, yeah, grab one block, place it underneath the eyebrows, and then place the palms face up, or do whatever is comfortable with the arms. Take a moment to soften the body, first softening that 99%, and then use your next few breaths to release completely, knowing that there's something invisible that we're holding on to that we can be free of. And then I like to hold the block with my hands, just squeezing the edges between the palms. Gently roll the head from side to side, massaging across the forehead with the block. Anywhere that feels good. You can also change the angle of the block a little bit, or focus more at the temples, or even more towards the crown of the head. I seem to really need it in the eyebrow space, so that's where I'm going to focus. And then let's float back up, blocks at, let's say, medium height. Step the left foot forward, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, and start to walk the hands over to the left, turning all 10 toes. Bend the knees really deeply, so here in a straddle forward fold. Lift the blocks a little higher, actually, so to the highest height. And then anchor the big toes and start to roll the weight onto the pinky side of the feet, and then release that and do it a couple of times. So you're just getting a little more awareness of the lateral edges of the feet, the lateral edges of the legs. Nice deep knee bend, almost like we're like starting a football game. You can send your hips back a little bit. And then to come up, we're going to practice the same thing we did before. So tent the fingertips. Drop through the sits bone so the pelvis starts to rock back and you feel that rounding in the low back. Bring your hands to your hips and then push your hips forward to roll up one vertebra at a time, and see if you can feel the support and strength coming up the front of the spine to make this really easy and gentle. And then allow the hands to float to the horizon. Push into the left foot, let the right arm circle up and open, and then bend the knees, go back the way you came. Let's release all the way down, and we'll roll up and go the other way. And I decided to take away, well, I'm not sure about the knee bend. So you do what feels best for you. I'm really liking pushing into one leg and feeling expansive as I reach up and back. And then when I come forward, I kind of like that melting of the knee bend, but play with what is most interesting to you. And the next time you float down, imagine you're grabbing really, really heavy, thick rubber bands and do the same action, but then there's some resistance, and try to feel how the right arm reaching up and back relates through the whole body all the way down to the left foot. Maybe you can feel that connection between right side of rib cage, left hip, and then do the same thing the other way. Big, heavy rubber band, thick, it's connected to the floor as you reach up and back. Release back down, and for this final one, we'll come up through center and we'll just reach up. Anchor through the pinky edge of the feet, spread out the toes. Let the elbows start to soften and let the heart open gently. Bend the right knee, let your body sway a little bit to the right, and then push into the right leg to go the other way. Bend left knee, sway a little to the left. And now moving a little slower, letting the arms start to follow that momentum, dropping down and then circling all the way up through center, over the other way. And I don't even want you to feel this in your shoulders at all. I want it to just be momentum carrying the arms up and over. So try not to worry about where the arms are or what they look like, but just let them move with the energy of this shifting. And then notice a moment of hang time at the center where you can just be suspended, and then you'll continue it over, but just start to milk that middle space by slowing down and feeling like almost like that gradient, and then it speeds up as gravity takes over. And we're learning how to let ourselves be in this suspended state, physically, but also in our lives as things shift. And notice how freeing it is. It's like that moment at center where nothing's pulling on you. And then life continues, and that's okay. The next time you're up, start to heel toe the feet underneath the hips. Relax the arms down. Let the hips relax for a moment. Start to circle the hips around the feet just to become more aware. The front of the legs, and then the sides, and then the back, and then the other side. I like to have a neutral pelvis as I do this. I feel like more connected, and like these movements are more helpful in the muscles around my pelvis when I do that. Circle the hips the other way. If you notice you're going so far that there's like a lot of pressure, see what it's like to just not go as far. And then step the right foot over to the right, shift the weight into the right foot, and feel how the space from the outside of the right foot all the way up to the right ear catches you. And then shift the weight back to the left, and do this a couple of times, starting to feel it's the lateral line of the body catching and stabilizing you as you shift. Like everything can land. The next time you shift over, find a drishti, a steady gaze point. Interlace or don't interlace them, just bring fingertips behind the ears and bend the right knee. Keep the weight in the right heel so you don't feel pressure in the right knee, and start to drag the left foot behind you, letting the left hip open, kind of like the tug of war that we did as we were rolling earlier. You can stay on the back toes, or you can release the back heel down. I think that's what I'm going to do because we're going to be here for a little while, so just make sure your feet feel comfortable. Start to push through the outside of the left foot to allow the whole left side of the body to open incrementally, slowly, almost like a wave, traveling up to the hip, and then traveling up to the rib cage, and then traveling all the way up the tricep into the side bend. And then we reverse that, letting all of that pull down and close so you go back to center. Do that a few times, letting each of those movements help the left lateral line become more and more connected, more and more intelligent. And the next time you're in the side bend, pause there and breathe into the left side of the rib cage. Make sure the spine is long, pelvis is neutral. Doesn't matter how far you go, I just want you to feel really spacious. And then bend into the front knee a couple of times so you feel springy and you feel smart in that front leg. We're going to shift the weight into the front leg, floating the left leg into tree. And then go back the way you came and play with that a couple of times until you feel more familiar, maybe even more comfortable. And the leg can float wherever you want. I'm feeling low in my hips today, but you don't have to. Eventually, as you feel more comfortable, float all the way into the opposite side bend. And that's tricky for balance. So if that's not happening, arms at T can help with balance. And honestly, it felt kind of good to release my arms, so maybe we can all do that. And if you do start to lose your balance, maybe the tree foot can step out and you can make something cool happen with it. The next time you come into tree, pause at center. Feel that steadiness. Tree is often a challenging pose, but after all that tumultuous, like hurricane tree, you might feel really relaxed here. If you want to humble yourself, you can close your eyes. Just don't hurt yourself. Letting the drishti be at heart center. And then step the left foot down, melt the arms down. You've relaxed 99%. See if you can let that final release happen. And just take a couple of breaths to soften here. And we'll go to the other side. So just for fun, we'll step wide, bend the knees, melt forward. The blocks are already there. We can take a moment in Prasarita Padottanasana. If you're enjoying the forward fold, you can stay here. You can also roll up a couple of times if you liked that TheraBand exercise with lifting opposite arm up and back. And then wherever you are, let's take the next 3 breaths to meet at center. If you're already there, you can find something to do. I believe in you. Oh, nice. I love it. Like power stance. And then start to bend the left knee and shift the weight over to the left just for a moment, and then right foot comes down. Do that a couple of times, just getting to know that left side of the body, feeling how the hip stacks over the ankle and how the shoulder stacks over that, and then all the vertebra of the neck just like tick, 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 right into place. And the next time the weight shifts, bend into that knee, plug that heel in so you feel really solid through the back of the hip, back of the leg, and then glide the right foot behind you. Bend, release the heel down, fingertips behind ears, little bend in the front knee. We don't have to go far here, but the movement starts the outside of the right ankle. So seal the right pinky toe down, anchor the right big toe, but let the arch lift. Try that a couple of times. The hip might start to sway out a little as you do that, and that's great. That's initiating that extension through the lateral line. And then as you feel ready, push down into pinky to slowly grow up through that right side. So you're reaching up, and the reaching up takes you over, but you're not even like thinking about moving over too much. And then let the right side close. And I'm feeling like exhaling into the side bend because the exhale is going to keep us really connected so we don't go too far. And then the inhale, we're light and we can just float up. If you want a little bit more here, as you go into the side bend, bend into the left knee a little bit extra. Make sure you're being kind with the left side of your body. If you go too far, the left side's going to feel a little bit crunchy. Try to stay long through both sides. And then the next time you come into the side bend, shift the weight into the front leg, bend and extend a couple of times like that. Front leg's a spring, it's getting ready. And the next time you bend, push into that foot, hover the back foot. If you need help with balance, you can float your arms to T a little bit earlier. Actually, let's all do that, and then we'll put our hands behind our ears later to deepen, just so you can have a little more success here. And then you can play with this bouncing tree, or eventually fingertips can come behind ears and you can play with swaying the other way. And of course, you don't have to put your fingertips there. I just really enjoy the sensation in my rib cage and my triceps when I do the side bend with my arms up like that. And the next time you float up, let's all release the arms to a really soft, almost like W shape. Find your drishti and let yourself just land. Take a moment to feel the positioning of your foot. We've played a lot with extra pressure on the pinky side. Feel your pelvis. We've played with finding our neutral pelvis and drawing a lot of strength up through there. And just notice any sense of clarity, simplicity possible in this moment. And then step the right foot wide, reach up, bend the knees, melt forward through center. Walk the hands and blocks forward until the shoulders, actually too far. Keep the hips over the knees and walk the blocks forward until they're right underneath your shoulders. Start to soften into the right knee. Reach the left fingertips forward, up, and let's go the other way. Reach the, I don't even know if I said the right thing before, so I'm going to repeat it over again. Right knee is bent, left fingertips reaching forward, up, and back. And just like we did before, we're not going to go all the way in the circle. We'll reverse it through center. Bend into the other knee and go the other way. And take a few of these. If you liked that rubber band idea, you can imagine that there's a giant rubber band attached to the block, and as you lift the hand, you're pulling and stretching it. I have really tight adductors, and this integration with the rubber band really helps me feel a stretch in the straight leg, the inside. Our bodies are all so different, though. If you want to pause in one side, that can be really beneficial, and I love to just rock forward onto the balls of my feet and then back into my heels as I stay there, just to allow the work to travel through the whole inner leg line. And then you can do the same thing on the other side. And just like before, just be aware of pressing down through the outside of the foot, letting the inside of the leg lift and integrate into the pelvic floor. So even though there's a lengthening, it's really drawing all the way up through the spine. And release that hand back down. Release one knee at a time. Flatten the feet and bring the hips onto the heels. Oh, I don't see anyone. I don't know what. We're gonna make a bolster by bringing our two blocks together and grabbing our extra blanket. Oh, great. Okay. There. I like to have as much cushioning as possible with my blanket, so I'm gonna fold it actually into thirds. I don't like the way it feels when the blocks are sort of pressing into me, so I'm gonna do that. If you want to have like an extra blanket or a pillow nearby, sometimes that's nice. There is going to be an option to use a strap, which is absolutely not necessary at all, but if you happen to have one, you're welcome to have it ready by placing a loop, actually, yes, a loop over the top leg. So right leg, if you're mirroring me, whichever one's further from the bolster. We're all going different ways, so whichever one's further from the bolster. And then the tail of the strap travels up towards the bolster. And so the thigh that's closest to the bolster is going to be perpendicular to the bolster, and you'll scoot that hip in. And then the top leg is going to point in the same direction as the bolster. If that feels too intense, as you lie on your side, let that leg drag up so you aren't keeping it in the same place, but you're letting it stack as much as possible on the other leg so it feels really supported. You just want to make sure you don't feel any twisting in the top knee, or any knee, but really it's the top knee that we might notice it. And then you can take a little side bend to prepare, push down through the hip that's next to the bolster, letting that whole side body lengthen, and then let it close. Hands frame the bolster and gently lay the side body on the bolster. And you'll see I have an extra cushion here because I just like a lot of support in my head and neck, so If it's not too inconvenient, I totally recommend that. And then I also like to hug my bolster, so just squeezing the arms in whatever way is comfortable. And this movement really opens the outside of the bottom hip, so just check in and make sure it doesn't feel too intense on the IT band or the outer bottom hip. Start to breathe into the bottom rib cage, the back of the ribs. Letting the whole body soften. And this is a perfect place to stay. But if you want a little more opening on the front of the top hip, the hidden arm, so the arm you can't see, is going to reach back for the tail of the strap, or even for that top foot, but I just don't want anyone to try to get the foot if it feels far away. So the strap should hopefully make it like you don't have to move the top leg at all. But when there is that connection, you might notice that the top leg can relax a little bit extra. And just make sure that hidden arm is nice and relaxed and the angle of the shoulder is comfortable. You can close the eyes if that feels safe. And just breathe, trying to find that last downshift from relaxing 99% to releasing that final percentage. And we'll take a few more breaths on this side. And release the foot or the strap. Place the hands to either side of the bolster. And very gently start to press into the hands, just taking the weight out of the body. Very slowly coming up, but enjoying that pathway. Letting go. Let the right leg extend. It's okay if the strap's still on it. And then either just lengthen straight up through the left side or the side body that's closest to the bolster, or you can side bend over if that feels accessible, away from the bolster. So I know I cued a specific leg, but hopefully you did whichever leg was further from the bolster. And then we'll come back up and take the strap off of the foot, come onto seated on the heels, and then grab your accoutrement and bring them to the other side. It's good. It's good to get that nice rotation while you're carrying all those things. And now the hips go to the other side. Leg is perpendicular to your bolster. And then the strap loop comes onto the far foot. And then slowly, and I find it's a little more comfortable to point the knee in line with the bolster once you lay down. So if you'd rather wait, you can totally do that. We'll take a little side bend to prepare, trying to push that hip closest to the bolster down so you feel the connection all the way into the hip. Maybe you can even feel it into the leg. And then allow the body to release down. And let this be gentle. Try to feel that right or bolster side closing, just like our little game with the side bend and the tree pose. Make any little wiggles and adjustments. And I like to stay here for a moment before reaching for the strap, just so that everything can relax and you can find optimal positioning of the pelvis and the spine and the shoulders before any binds happen. And if this already feels like a lot's happening, please feel free to just stay right here. And then if you do want to go for the bind, the hidden arm reaches straight back, so straight arm, and then either you find your foot or you find the tail of the strap, and just be really kind and gentle. These restorative poses aren't meant to feel like a big stretch. They're really for the nervous system, so just about putting your body in a comfortable position, like you could fall asleep here for the whole night and wake up and be happy. And just let the breath massage the rib cage. We'll take a few more breaths here. And then release the foot. Place the hidden arm alongside the bolster. And very gently start to press into the hands and enjoy this easing up moment as the hands walk in towards the body and the blood flow starts to re-enter the right side of the body. You might feel some tingling. Can let the far leg open up and just sit at center, or go for the side bend, letting what was closed now open. Take any modifications here that feel good. And then eventually make your way back up to seated. We're preparing for Shavasana, so you're welcome to use your props however you'd like. I like to put the rolled up blanket underneath my knees personally, but please take a moment to change your lighting, change your clothing, whatever you need to do to feel comfortable. And then take your time with that releasing process that we've been playing with throughout class. And as you come down to Shavasana, imagine that you've got more room to relax. You can let go more than you realize. And just let each breath help you with that. so we'll rest here for the next 10 minutes, which will take us a couple minutes past the hour, just in case anybody has to go right on the hour. And then we'll have our bonus meditation for anyone that would like to stay. Before heading into silence, just take the next few breaths to feel any sense of balance or ease. And then set any intentions aside. And just trust that the more you can relax here, and the more prepared you'll be for whatever's next. You don't have to think about it or plan. You can just fully release that final 1% with each breath. And we'll rest here now. complete your Shavasana, observe your next 5 to 7 breaths. Feel how naturally they happen without any force or will. Imagine your whole life unfolding in that way. And as you feel ready, you can make any gentle waking movements, stretching or rolling, anything that feels good. And let your experience be fresh. Let everything that you take up with you to your meditation seat be completely fresh. You can leave everything behind. And take your time setting up your meditation seat and letting it be new in this moment. Maybe something has shifted in your body. And so we have about 20 minutes for our meditation practice. The breath is such an incredible support system all the time, but especially useful through transitions. And so I invite you to connect with your breath flow. And just like it was out of Shavasana, let it be natural and effortless. And sometimes that might even feel slightly superficial, and that's okay. Gentle can be a wonderful thing with the breath. Just try to feel like your whole body is breathing in that gentle way. That gentle pulsation of expand and relax, almost like your heart beating. Try to feel how the breath interacts with your heart space. I really love love this backwards breathing technique that I've heard Babaji guide with the heart, where you inhale to draw the focus into the center of the heart. And then you exhale, and as you relax, you allow the heart to expand in all directions. When things are shifting, the one constant we have is this deep inner connection. Can be our anchor and our guide. See if you can find that sense of inner support and inner guidance more and more with each breath. Almost like remembering who you truly are beyond the superficial. As you continue to work with the breath and your heart, you can attach whatever mantra you work with. You can use hum, sa if you'd like. Letting the vibration of the mantra help you connect more deeply to the space of the heart. And feeling more resonance and expansion on that exhale. I think we're usually used to getting smaller as we exhale. So as you continue to play with exhaling to expand the heart, notice that feeling of suspension or surrender required to do both those things simultaneously, and let everything else drop away. For the last few minutes together, we can do the tension release just to completely let go and create that open space for what's next. And so if you know this, just do it at your own pace. Otherwise, I'll guide it step by step. We'll start with fingertips outstretched to the sides, letting the shoulders relax. And this is a really powerful practice that was given to us by our teacher's teacher, Swami Rudrananda, an energetic way to flush tension out of the system. And so it starts with the breath. You can draw the breath in through the nose, let it wash up over the forehead and then down into the heart, where the breath is retained for a moment, but not with any strain. If it feels fine, you can hold it there a little longer. And then the exhale draws the breath out towards the shoulders and then down the arms through the center of palms and fingertips. So each breath will flow in that way, drawing fresh prana in over third eye down to heart. Then when it's at the heart, it begins to mix with the lingering tension in our psychic system. And so that exhale washes the mixture completely out. We can add the visualization of the cleanest, purest water coming in with the breath, mixing with the tension at the heart, becoming murky and cloudy, and then exhaling that cloudy mixture out through the arms. And the final layer of the practice is the mantra from Rudy. And the next time the breath is retained at the heart, you can say, but more importantly feel, I deeply wish to release all negative psychic tension. And then the exhale washes everything out. And I'll repeat that mantra again the next time the breath is at the heart. I deeply wish to release all negative psychic tension. And then let it all go. And take a couple more on your own. And then close the practice by sweeping off the fingertips, flicking fingers and arms. You can even brush all the way down the arms. And let yourself be at center and just notice over the past 90 minutes if you have been able to open up to whatever your life is bringing you right now and feel safe in this middle ground. Thanks for practicing. It was so wonderful to see you. If you have any questions, I'm always happy to answer them in person or online or via email, and hope to see you all soon. Aloha.